Hello everyone, my name is Auro and welcome to the 11th devlog of More to Glory 2, a turn-based gladiator roguelike. This week I started with some kind of boring tasks, but tasks that needed to be done nonetheless. So, believe it or not, before this you could not actually enter the battle scene anyway. So what I did was to add the actual transition from the map scene into the battle scene, always when you enter a battle node. And then I also added the transition from the battle scene into the map scene so that it actually remembers where you were and what your team is and all that stuff. So there is some actual structure behind the different scenes, kind of like having the glue there to bind everything together. I also added some logic for what happens when you actually reach the end of the map, the final boss fight of that map. So the way I'm currently thinking about it, I think I'll have something like 3 or maybe 5 different of these maps that you run through with your team, fighting all the fights, and then at the end of the 3rd or 5th map, I don't know yet which one it is, the game will actually end then, at least the normal game mode. Currently there isn't any fanfare when you actually beat the boss of that map level. But yeah, now there is actually some logic that it will create a new map or then it will be the final map and something happens. Then I also filled up the battle preview window a bit, so instead of having just white boxes in there like I had previously, now I actually show the teams, and then there are the rewards, and then well, the special rules are still a bit work in progress. I'll have to add those later. But yeah, one thing I now made functional is the extra challenge toggle button there, which I think will be a cool new addition. So yeah, one of the ways it can add extra challenge to the fights is to just increase the amount of enemies. So maybe instead of 4 you now actually have 8 enemies or something like that. Then moving on to a bigger feature, I started to add loot boxes to the game. Wait, that doesn't sound quite right. Well, I mean, I started adding boxes that are full of loot to the game. So those are loot boxes, right? Yeah, no loot boxes in this game. But I mean, I started working on the graphics for the rewards in the game. I started with getting this chest graphic from Unity Asset Store, which I think fit quite nicely into the game. I played around with some effects that I thought would fit well into the chest sprite and the opening animation, vibration animation, shaking the chest a bit, and then there's this squeeze animation, kind of making the chest smaller and filling you with anticipation of waiting to see it pop open. And then yeah, I'm playing around with the brightness a bit. That looks quite nice in many cases. Then I played around with some rotation to maybe add some movement to it when it's actually opening. Then of course there's the changing the sprite of the chest. So the asset pack I got was very nice. It actually came with these 4 different phases of the opening for the chest. If I just cycle those in order, I think it looks pretty smooth. Even though it's just 4 frames, it will feel the purpose very nicely, I think. Combining all those together makes up for a pretty satisfying looking chest animation, I would say. Then next I started thinking about, okay, the chest opens, what happens after that? And the idea I got was that the chest opening would kind of summon a fog in the scene, kind of just something to feel the background. Yeah, I would say that's the main purpose. And then on top of the fog, there would be these lootable items. And I also wanted to have this shader glow animation kind of thing around the items, so that would then indicate the rarity of the items. Then I added some background dimming to further add the contrast between the actual chest opening and what's going on in the background. And then one thing I also wanted to do was to spread out the items a bit. So one quite easy way to do that I came up with was to just like have a circle, and then based on the amount of lootable items, the circle will get a bit bigger, and then it will just check like, okay, if we have 5 items, then just like divide the circle into 5 different pieces and like count the distance. Is it circumference or I don't know what the actual word is in English, but yeah, just count at that point in the like outer edge of the circle the item should be with like an equal distribution. And then yeah, of course I added this like small little like floating, just moving the item, small animation like that to make it a bit more visually interesting. Then I made the lootable items actually contain something, not just be a sprite, and also a simple loot like this script that will actually add them to your inventory and remove from the loot table. Then one idea I had that I wanted to add were these like discoverable items, so to say. So basically an item that gives you like 3 or 4 or whatever amount of options to choose from. I think that's a nice way to make the looting a bit more satisfying, because the player can actually make some choices based on like what direction he or she might be going with the like actual tactics of the gameplay and stuff like that. Here I'm displaying that the game will actually remember what the different options were if there are different amount of like these choose one loot items. Then to add some zing to the looting, I added 2 little shader animations to the items when you loot them. So when you pick an item, there's this like brightness shader that will increase, so I think it looks quite nice. Instead of just disappearing, it grows bright and then fades out quickly. And then with the choose one options, I made it so that basically the options that you don't choose, they have this different kind of dissolve animation, so kind of looks like they're burning away or something like that. And similarly also, if you decide not to loot everything, those will also get burned up. The asset pack I bought to get the chest sprites, that was a really good deal because it actually contained many different chests, maybe something like 10 or even more different kinds of chests. So yeah, next I added a few extra chests also into the game, so I figured that maybe depending on the rarity or quality of chest, the look, the visuals of the chest could be a bit different. I also tried to play around with some particle system animations when opening or maybe when the chest appears. So in the video I have this like stars that will get blown out when you loot the chest, but I don't know, after testing and thinking about it, I decided not to add them to the game, because I mean, maybe it's a bit too much. Let's see if I change my mind later on, but yeah, at least at that point I figured it's not really needed or doesn't really add anything. At this point I figured the reward chest is pretty much done. I didn't have any new ideas what I could add or what was missing, so yeah, it was time to move on to something else. And personally I'm really happy how it ended up, and I think it will be very satisfying to include in the game, the like actual gameplay. But of course I would also love to hear what you think. Do you think it looks nice, or if you have any other thoughts about the chest and the looting visuals. Then at this point in time I also made the Steam page for the game. So I'm not going to go too deep into the details, but yeah, that took some time, and then I also had to fake some screenshots. So yeah, if you look at this closely, for example, I don't have this background in the map scene just yet. It's just kind of like what I'm thinking how it will look like. So screenshots are nice in that sense that it's only one frame I need to showcase. But I think the end result will look something like this, maybe a bit better. Let's see what I come up with. And yeah, I added this nice GIFs also here in the page. I really like these. Having the page up early is nice because now I can start collecting some wishlists. And actually related to that, if you're interested in how many wishlists I'm getting each month for the game, I'm actually detailing those now on my Patreon page. So if you're knowing how many wishes I'm getting or how many dollars my games are selling each month, if that sounds interesting to you and you want to support the channel, then yeah, please go ahead and check out the Patreon page. And hey, that's actually pretty much everything I wanted to say in this devlog. So as per usual, I would love to hear what you think about all the stuff I did in this devlog, and if you have any other type of feedback, I would also love to hear that. But yeah, nothing else, so have a nice day and I'll see you in the next one.